Hello. Okay. I hope the volume and clarity is okay, and you can see the screen so that you can start. So last class we have discussed, or we have started discussion about the executive of a state. So at that time we have discussed at beginning you have to describe the governor. So the governor of a state, a governor can be appointed as a representative of the president to individual states. So a person can be a governor for one or more than one states. So usually the governor is a person from outside the state, and he can be a person inside the state also rarely. So he should be a citizen of India with an age greater than or equal to 35 years, and he will be in his office for a term of 5 years, and after that a new governor will be appointed by the president. So we have discussed the qualifications and the term of office, that various articles related to the governor. So I hope it will be okay for you if I explain all these concepts like this. So during last class we have compared the articles related to the president and the governor. So at that time we found that there's a lot of similarities between the president and the governor. Okay. So that you have studied. Now we will move on to the concept of governor only. So we will not discuss about the president. So you should find out the similarities in between the president and governor by your own. Okay. In the class note, I am not comparing these two persons. You just compare and study as per your convenience. Okay, that's all. So going to the powers of governor. Okay, I hope you can write the points in your class note. Sometimes the whiteboard may not work. Is it okay for you? Okay, can you write down the notes once I'm explaining, or is it required to use the whiteboard compulsorily? Okay, anyway, we will write it. If it's working properly, then it will be okay. Otherwise, you can simply write it by listening. So the powers of the governor. So the powers can be executive powers, executive powers. Now legislative powers. I hope you can write it in your class note. Is it okay? So the whiteboard is showing some technical issues. So better you write it down by your own. Okay. Anyone? Okay. Yes. So if it's not working, then for the next class I will prepare some slides and we will discuss. Okay. So for today, just listen. The executive power of the governor and then the legislative powers, then financial powers. We have discussed at the time of discussing president. Okay. The similar powers are enjoyed by the president also. So judicial powers, then pardoning power, and then discretionary powers. So all these powers we will discuss in detail. So the executive powers involve the president is the the governor is the person who executes all the proceedings of a state. So that is the executive power. So in the name of the governor, all the executive actions are taking place within the state. Okay, in the name of the governor, all the executive actions are taking place within the state. So within the state also, the executive is divided into various categories. Just like the executive head is the governor, and there will be a chief minister to advise the governor, and there will be a cabinet of ministers to COM. Okay, COM means there will be a council of ministers, and this minister will form into a cabinet which is known as the ministry. Okay, നമ്മുടെ മന്ത്രിസഭ എന്ന് പറയുന്നു അല്ലെ. So this ministry consists of various ministers within the state. So these ministers are proposed to advise the governor in his execution. Okay, so the real head of the state is the governor, but in effect the head will be the elected representative or the head of the elected representatives, who is the chief minister. Okay, that you know. It is also similar to the position of prime minister in the union. Okay, so after that the governor can appoint or governor can appoint various persons in various positions that we have explained already, just like the chairman and members of the UPSC, the chairman and members of the state PSC, then the advocate general, then the chief minister, council of ministers, everyone. So all of these are appointed by the governor. So the appointing is also an executive power. Okay. So under the executive power, you can also write the appointment of various positions, just like the chief minister, then council of ministers, then advocate general, then the chairman and members of the state PSC, everyone. Okay, so that is the appointment power, which is coming under the executive power. So these are the executive power, just like the power to appoint various positions and then take the executive actions from the top position. Okay, so now what are the legislative powers? So similar to the parliament, here we are also having a legislative assembly. So within the legislative assembly, the state laws are created. Okay, so the laws listed within the state list are the matter of topic within the legislative assembly. So from those assemblies, the laws are being made, and it should have the sign of the governor. Then only it will become law. Otherwise, it will remain as a bill. Okay. So the president, so the governor is the person who should sign those bills. So that is the legislative power of the governor. So if the governor uses his veto power, then he can have the bill rejected. Okay, or he can keep the bill for pending. So otherwise he can sign it, and it will become an act. So here the second legislative power of the governor is that also it is the ordinance making power. So similar to the president, the governor can also make ordinance. So uh, the ordinance making is known as promulgation. Okay, so promulgation of ordinance, promulgation, PROMULGATION. So who can promulgate ordinances? Either the president or the governor. Okay, so that's a legislative power coming under the governor. So it is 1, 2, 3 article. Okay, article 1, 2, 3 in the case of president, the ordinance making power, but article 2 and 3 in the case of governor. Okay, I will list out all these articles in the class note so that you can study from the class note. So now you just listen. It's article 2 and 3 for the governor to promulgate ordinances. Now the ordinance making power and the power to sign on the bills. These are the legislative powers of the government. Now, what are the financial powers? So when we are talking about the financial powers, it will come to the budget. Okay, so the budget or the annual financial statement. So annual financial statement is prepared and submitted on behalf of the governor. Okay, so it is submitted in the legislative assembly by the state finance minister or the chief minister. Okay, so the finance minister or chief minister will present the budget within the assembly, and there will be a discussion. So once it is over, the budget will be submitted to the assembly on behalf of the governor. So the governor is having the financial power in that way. So the budget is submitted on his name. So the remaining financial powers include he can request for funds from the union. Okay, if there is any requirement of some emergency requirements of funds, just like if there is any natural calamity or if there is any spreading disease within a single state, then what will happen? So the state will run out of money definitely. So uh, the state will use its contingency fund. Okay, I have explained what is this contingency fund. Okay, so we are having a consolidated fund and a contingency fund. Consolidated fund means the fund which is having uh, some usage. Okay, so we have predetermined the usage of that fund in the budget. Okay, so and we will have some extra money as a reserve to use in any contingency or emergency. And if there is an emergency and we have also used all the contingency fund, then we can require or we can demand fund from the union. So that demand is done by the governor. Okay, that is also a financial power. So governor can get advance amount in the contingency fund. Okay, so the governor can also minimize the expenditure. Just he can interpret the duties of the finance minister, and he can have suggestions to minimize the expenditure if there is any unforeseen expenditure occurs. So that's also a financial power, and that's all about the financial power. Then it is the judicial power. Okay, so judicial power, first of all, it's a pardoning power. So the president can pardon any crime. Okay, so the president can pardon any crime, including the utmost punishment, just like the okay, the capital punishment can also be pardoned by this president. Okay, so the president, if a person is given death penalty, then even that can be pardoned by the president. But in the case of the governor, he cannot do that. The governor can pardon any crime except this death penalty. Okay, so if a person is having any death penalty, then definitely he should get mercy from the president only, and he should not get mercy from the governor. That's all. So remaining all the crimes will be pardoned by the governor. Okay, so if it is required, then only he will pardon, and he will not pardon all the crimes. Okay, so that's a pardoning power coming under Article 161. Okay, so for the president it was 72, and for governor it is 161. The pardoning power, and it's a power to grant pardon, which is coming under the judicial power. And also some other judicial powers, just like the governor appoints the chief justice of the high court, and the governor can have the advice of the chief justice of high court in legal matters. Okay, so those are the judicial powers. And now it's a discretionary powers. So discretionary power means the governor can discrete about a bill. That means if it's a financial bill, then in the union it is a speaker to decide whether it's a financial bill, whether it's a money bill or something. And here in our state, the governor will discrete whether will discrete in some matters, just like the whether a particular kind of bill is to be introduced, just like uh, for example, if some particular bill is to be introduced in the assembly, then there should be some prior recommendation of the governor in some bills, not in all the bills, but in some bills. So the governor can decide whether that bill should be introduced in the assembly or not. So that's the discretionary power, taking decisions, the power to take decisions, and the power to discrete. Okay, so some particular bills can be discreted by the governor, or some particular bills can be allowed, some can be rejected from uh, introducing in the assembly. Okay, that's a discretionary power of governor. So all these powers are really important. And appointment power, we have already discussed. And if there is any sudden vacancy in the appointed chief minister, okay, the chief minister is appointed, and there can be some sudden happenings, just like the death of the chief minister, or the incapacity of the chief minister, or something like that. Then it is the governor who stands as the executive, or who stands as the ruler within the state. So it has occurred in some situations, just like when there was no ministry, so when there was no majority to form a ministry, and when there is no minister, when there is no chief minister, and if the chief minister resigns, so in a number of times in Kerala also the chief ministers got resigned. So uh, within the time up to which, so the time up to which a new chief minister comes, there will be a person in the position of the chief minister, and it will be the governor. So in that way the governor can have the decision to become in the position of the chief minister's chair. Okay, now that's all about the governor. So just like any other position, you have to study about the governor in many aspects, just like his term of office, then his powers, his functions, and responsibilities, then the persons who are appointed by the governor, then who appoints the governor. Okay, who is appointing the governor, that you know. So the governor will be appointed by the chief justice of the high court, no, appointed by the president, but this chief for the president, it is the chief justice of supreme court who is making this president in his position, just like by introducing him. Then in the same way, in the state also, it is the chief justice of the corresponding high court, corresponding state high court, who is introducing the governor in his position. Okay, so the governor anyway is appointed by the president only. So it is also taking place within an election. Okay, so for appointing the corresponding person, there will be an election if there are more than one candidates. Okay, so that election will also be similar to the presidential and the vice presidential election. So it will take place within particular states. So anyway, the election need not be there. Definitely, directly the president can appoint or recommend a person as the governor. Okay, so after that, it is the Council of Ministers. Now we have discussed about the Council of Ministers in the Union. So that can be some ministers who are having the cabinet rank, then the deputy ministers, then ministers of state. So all these are coming under the category of union ministers. But in the case of state ministry, we are having a number of ministers, and we are having a head of the ministry who is known as the chief minister. Okay, so in various articles it's described, just like in article 164 and 163, you can see the council of ministers and the chief minister. Okay, so the governor can uh, remove the chief minister, or the governor can remove any of the minister from the ministry at any time. Okay, so anyway, if the chief minister is removed, then what will happen? Definitely the ministry will fail, and there should be the formation of a new ministry. Okay, and if the chief minister is resigning, then he had to submit the resignation letter to the president. Okay. And while we are discussing about the chief minister, then as per the article 167, as per the article 167, it is the duty of the chief minister to communicate all the decisions to the council of ministers. So there will be a council of ministers, and the chief minister should communicate everything within the ministry as per article 167A. Okay, so in article 167C, it says that it is a collective responsibility of the ministry. It is the collective responsibility of the ministry to strengthen the procedures of the rule of the chief minister. Okay, so that's 167C. And in 167, overall description about the ministry is provided. And if you are speaking about the Council of Ministers in detail, it is available in Article 163. So it says that there shall be a Council of Ministers. So the head of the council will definitely be the chief minister, and the chief minister should execute all the actions, and he should act as the advisor to the governor. So speaking about the chief minister, you can also say that he is the head of the elected representative within the state, and his duties are listed in Article 167. So in Article 167, it is the duties of the chief minister. So you may be knowing the duties of the chief minister. So in day-to-day life, we are seeing the duties which are performed by the chief minister, just like he had to communicate to the union through this governor. Okay, through the governor, he can communicate to the union, and if and he should take some positions, just like he is the chairman of the planning commission. Okay, so that we have seen in the union also. There is a planning commission, and the chairman will be the prime minister. And in the state planning commission, it is the chief minister who is the chairman, and there definitely will be a vice chairman also. Okay, so the chairman will be the chief minister. And do you know who will be the internal affairs minister? So the ministers for internal affairs will also be the chief minister in most of the times. But in all the times, it will not be like that. In some situations, there will be a separate minister for internal affairs other than the chief minister. Okay, but most of the times, the chief minister will also become the ഇന്റേണൽ അഫയേഴ്സ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ആഭ്യന്തരമന്ത്രി എന്ന് പറയുന്നുണ്ട് അല്ലെ, ആഭ്യന്തരമന്ത്രിയും മുഖ്യമന്ത്രിയും ഒരാൾ തന്നെ ആയിരിക്കും. ചില സന്ദർഭങ്ങളിൽ അത് രണ്ടുപേരാകാനും മതി. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? സോ the internal minister will be responsible for the entire police system. Okay, so the internal affairs are handled by the Department of Police. Okay, so the internal affairs minister will handle this. Then the ministries, just like the IT. So IT is the IT sector is coming under the chief minister. It is observed like that. Actually, there is no particular rule, but it's a ministry which came after the formation of the constitution. So at the time of formation of constitution, there was no ministry, just like the ministry for IT, then ministry for atomic energy, ministry for science and technology. All these were came later. Okay, so at that time there is no provision regarding all these ministries in the constitution. So definitely it came on the hands of the chief minister. And if there is no particular sector given to any particular minister, then automatically all those sectors will come to the chief minister. അതായത് നമ്മൾ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു പദവി, ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു സെക്ടർ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരാൾക്ക്, ഒരു മിനിസ്റ്റർക്ക് കൊടുക്കാത്തിടത്തോളം ആ പദവി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ ഒരു സെക്ടർ മുഖ്യമന്ത്രിയുടെ തലയിൽ തന്നെ വരും. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? സോ different sectors are there, just like the education, health. So everything will be distributed to individual ministers. But if it is not distributed, then it will be under the hands of the chief minister. That's all. So after that, the communication between the union and the state. So that's also the function of the chief minister. And he should be the administrator of the states, that you can say. So he can advise the governor. So all these are the functions of the chief minister. which is listed under Article 167. Okay. Now we can speak about the Advocate General. So Advocate General is similar to the Attorney General within the Union. So within the Union, it's the Attorney General who is the highest law official, and in the states, the highest law official will be the Advocate General. So the Advocate General is explained within Article 165. Okay, so in 76 it was the Attorney General, and here in 165 it is the Advocate General. Okay, so he is the lowest he is the highest law officer in the state. Okay, highest law officer. So what is his duties? So the duties of the Advocate General is to assist the state government in the legal matters. Okay, in legal matters, the person who is assisting the government, it will be the Advocate General. Okay, so if there is any case, just like the Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. Okay, in such situations, the Keshavananda Bharati will have a lawyer, and for the State of Kerala also there should be a lawyer, and it will definitely be the highest law officer, just like the Advocate General. Okay, so there is an Advocate General as well as there is a Solicitor General. What is the Solicitor General? Solicitor General also is having the same function, but he is coming just below this Advocate General. Okay, so the Solicitor General can also be a person who is a law officer. Okay, so all these persons are just like the advocates. Okay, that we are seeing, and they are having some constitutional status. That's all. So speaking about the Advocate General, some duties of the Advocate General, just like to handle or to perform the duties which are having some legal characters on behalf of the government. Okay, and definitely he had to advise the governor in legal matters, and in all the cases which are mentioned in the name of the government, he should be the person who appear before the court. Okay, and there is no particular rules about the term of office of his position also. So he can be in office for any duration of time under the pressure of the ministry. Okay, so once the ministry is over, then definitely the person who is the Advocate General also will resign. So that is a procedure, and there is no written rule regarding that. So what are the rights of this Advocate General? So some of the rights include he can hear in any courts within the state. Okay, in any courts within the state he can appear, and he can have his views presented within the courts. Okay, and he has the right, and he has the right to speak and take part in the assembly also. He can appear in the assembly. So he is not an elected member in the assembly. Still, he can go to the assembly, and he can speak also, and he can speak in the assembly just like any other MLS. Okay, but he is not having the right to vote. Okay, if there is any bill coming, he cannot vote because he is not an elected representative of the peoples. Okay, but still he can go and speak. That's all. And also there will not be any legal procedures on his name, and if there should be some legal procedures, then definitely he will be removed from his position. After that, they will take the legal actions. Otherwise, he is immune to all the legal proceedings. Okay, so that you can list out, or that you can obtain from the class note. So that's all about the Advocate General, and here you can see the most important executive positions within the state include the governor at the top, then the chief minister to advise the governor, and the Advocate General, then the council of ministers. Now I hope it's clear for all of you, and if it's clear, then we will move on to the legislature of the state. Is it okay, Hari Krishna? Okay, I think I will take the attendance because we are having time. Okay, Abhijit absent. No, Aditya, Agas, Anil. Present. Okay, okay. Now, Aditya, Akash, Agil, Akshay. Agil, Agil absent. Akshay, Akshay absent. Okay. Now, Ananya. Okay, Akshay present. No, Ananya present. No. Anushka, Aisha, Devapriya. Yes. Now, Fatima Sala, Dinsha, Anaga, Rimsha. Yes. Now, Gogul, Harikrishna, Jibin, Kishan. Yes. Now, Krishnendu, Muhammad Ashik, Mandana. Yes. Now, Pooja, Pratiksha, Safal, Sanjay. Safal, absent. Okay. Sarang, Saurabhya, Shabiba, Shadia. Shabiba. Yes. Shadia, Shahin Shah, Shilpa. Surya, Sneha, Tushara, Vishnu Prasad, Vismaya, Vaishak. Okay. Okay. Safal absent. Yes. So we will move on to the state legislature. So in legislature, you may be knowing, just like the parliament, we are having an assembly in individual states, and the assembly can be unicameral or bicameral. Okay, unicameral means there can be two houses. Okay, sorry, unicameral means okay. In unicameral assembly, you can see only a single house. Okay, just like the Kerala legislative assembly. Okay, and just like the Karnataka legislative assembly, there can be two houses also, an upper house and a lower house that you have discussed already. And one is known as the Vidhan Sabha and one is known as Vidhan Parishad. Okay, so Niyama Sabha and Niyama Parishad, upper house and lower house. And we have also listed the states at which the assembly is bicameral. So after that, it is the Article 168 which mentions about the legislature. And in 168 1A, it mentions the list of the states at which the assembly is bicameral. Okay, in 168 1A. Okay, so that you should remember. Now, in detail, you have to analyze the individual houses, just like that you have done in the case of this parliament. Okay, so before that, you have to be familiar that the parliament can make or the parliament can remove the particular houses from the individual states. So if the parliament decides to form a bicameral system within our Kerala, then they can have it by conducting a vote. Okay, so a bill can be introduced within the parliament from the members from Kerala regarding the formation of the upper house. Okay, so that will be put for the voting. Okay, so if it is getting a majority, then it will become an act. So within that act, there can be one more house. Okay, so in that way, the decision making power on the formation of the upper houses on individual states will be under the parliament. Okay, so it's mentioned in Article 169. So under Article 169, it empowers the parliament for the formation of the houses, for formation of bicameral system in individual states. Okay, so in Article 170, you can see it is the composition of the legislative assemblies mentioned. So how the legislative assemblies are composed within individual states, that is explained in Article 170 that you should study. And regarding the composition of legislative councils, it's described in Article 171. So just like the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, which are mentioned under the Article 80 and 81, that you may be remembering. Okay, in 80 it is the Rajya Sabha and 81 it is the Lok Sabha, and 79 it was the Parliament. Okay, so in the same way, in 170 and 171 it is the legislative assemblies and legislative council that you should compare. Okay, so under Article 171 it is the composition of the legislative council. And regarding the composition of legislative council, there should be some numbers that you should study. So that numbers I will give you in your class note. So the class note I will definitely distribute within 1 or 2 days. Okay, for this module that you should read and understand. So regarding the strength of the legislative council, there are some rules. Just like out of the total strength, the 1/12 of the members should be teachers. Okay, so there can be teachers who has retired or who has experience in the field of teaching, and it will be 1/12 of the members. And the 1/3 of the members should be in local authorities. So the members should have an experience in the local authorities in 1/3 strength. Okay, and the 1/3 should be assembly members, and the 1/12 should be graduates. Okay, so there should be a minimum number of graduates also. So the persons who are having graduation should be at least 1/12 of the total strength of the legislative council, that you should remember. So this list I will show you in the next class in the slides, or otherwise I will share you in the class note definitely. So there is a division of members within the council regarding the graduation, regarding whether the member is graduated or not, and regarding the occupation of the member, just like he is a teacher or not, in that way. So that is also listed in the Article 171 regarding the legislative council. After that, it is the duration. So in the same way as the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, the legislative assembly is also having a 5-year term, and it can be dissolved at any time under the decision of the governor. Okay, so if the governor decides to dissolve the legislative assembly, then he can at any time. And if it's not dissolved, then after every 5 years there will be new elections, and new members will be formed within the assembly, and they will form the new ministry. So there should be some qualifications for the members of the legislative assembly, just like the qualification of members in the parliament. Okay, so the qualifications are the person should be a citizen of India. That's the first qualification. And the age limit is 25 years. So that you may be knowing, if you want to be an MLA, then you should have at least the age of 25 years. Okay, so but in the case of this legislative council, it should be 30 years. Okay, that you should remember. In the case of legislative council, if you want, so the members of the legislative council are known as MLCs. MLC, that means member of legislative council, and the member of legislative assemblies are known as MLAs. MLA. So for an MLC, there should be a minimum age of 30 years, and for an MLA, there should be minimum of 25 years. Okay, so there should be particular qualifications for the MLCs. Just we have explained all those. So he should be a teacher in for 1/12 of the seats, and for 1/12 of the seats, he should be a graduate in that way. Okay, that also is described. Now there are some provisions regarding the disqualification also. So the qualifications we have already mentioned. So during the disqualification also there is a provision coming under Article 191. Okay, Article 191 discusses about the disqualification of members of the legislative assemblies. That we will discuss during the next class. Anyway, you should study the state execution thoroughly, and then during next class we will continue the discussion about the state legislature. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope it's clear. Concept understood അല്ലേ? Yes. So during